I'm Chip Townsend, and this is the Team Chip Podcast. Hey, welcome back to the Team Chip Podcast. I'm super excited to be here. I have the one and only Mr. JT Cofer. How are you, bud?
Good, sir.
Good, man. JT Cofer, for those of you that don't know, started training with us when he was 4.
Yes, sir.
Jeez, I'm getting old, buddy. He's 4 years old. He is the chief instructor and kind of general manager of our Team Chip San Angelo, Texas location, and doing a killer job. Pumped to have you here, man.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. We brought you in on this episode for a reason.
Oh, I'm ready.
You're a ball of power, man. You're like a ball of energy. So we're going to talk today about the energy problem and why classes, can feel flat sometimes. And maybe even, I think maybe we should even start a little bit before we get into here, like, well, why the classes not need to feel flat? Why energy? What is that about? So talk to me. What's important about energy in a class, man?
It's extremely simple. And sometimes when things are so simple, it's hard to remember,
Simple. Simple does not mean easy.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, it's a simple thing, but it's not necessarily easy to apply. Gotcha.
Exactly. And so when we think about energy, energy in the classroom shouldn't be just the thought of I'm hyperactive. I'm just like, bouncing off the wall, Coming in when I was first teaching, this was things that I did. I would yell. I was excited, but it was kind of like I was like a puppy dog. I was like, I'm ready for everything.
If you could see me, I'm smiling so big right now because when JT first started teaching, he was all volume. Mm-hmm. It was all volume. And in his mind, it was for energy, but in my mind, it was like, man, that's just for the sake of noise. It is loud.
Oh man, it was fun, but it was really loud.
Right.
But the thing about energy that I've learned over the years is that it comes through a couple of things. One is that you want to have fun with what you're doing,
right?
But also it's the compassion that you have with your students as well.
Right.
That's where your energy comes. It's not coming from a place of I'm energetic. It's coming from a place of I care.
I care
about this. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of over the years, and I still have hopefully a lot more years to grow in this area, but it's something that's come to me in just these kind of times that I've been learning with people and students, is that the more that I put into them, the more that I care for them, the more energy we'll have in class, because there's now a want to be there, not just I have to be there.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for that authenticity of truly caring about what you do and being, I think the word we beat it up, passionate about what you do. It comes through, when you're truly out there doing it for the right reason, because you get excited and you're energetic because the kid gets it and their eyes light up and it's like, yeah, I feel that. And that's authenticity.
Absolutely.
And that's a really powerful thing. But I've been in so many martial arts schools through the years where the great master walks around like, methodically, and everything is this great grain of wisdom coming from their mind, and it's just monotone and flat. And I'm kind of like, man, they wonder why they're not growing. Mm-hmm. And it's like, if you could ask them, and I have asked sometimes, like, why do you address your class that way? And it's like, because that's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way it was done for me, right?
Absolutely.
We've got to get out of the past. And so anyway, today's not about, just adding better music or new drills or louder instructions. We're going to kind of talk about the core a little bit of, energy and why classes can be kind of flat. So energy does not start with the students, JT. Talk to me about that. Where does it start?
It starts with you. It starts with you coming onto the mat. We have the saying of you leave all your problems in your shoes. And especially if you're in a leadership position, to have that energy, you have to example that wholeheartedly. Because if you don't, and you're worrying about, oh man, I'm hungry, what's going to be for lunch in, 2 hours, you're going to be thinking about a sandwich and not have energy because you're thinking about something else and not taking care of your students.
You're not in the moment at your best. I love that. Students tend to kind of mirror the instructors mirror their leadership or whatever they grew up with, and the culture mirrors what's modeled every day, right? And
Absolutely.
So with that said, I love what you're saying, because you have to model the behavior that you expect. And so if you come in with energy and you're not just monotone and flat, the students will more likely do that. So it's kind of some questions for the people out there listening to think about, is like, how do you walk into your class? Mm-hmm. Do you walk in distracted? Are you present? Are you not present? Are you, do you come in with a purpose, chest out and kind of eyes forward and confident, et cetera? So, do you sound excited? Do you sound exhausted? How are you entering the room whenever you get that opportunity to do so? So All right, man. So JT, how do you enter the class, man? Tell me about that a little bit.
Oh man. Well, first thing I always do is you always want to kind of get in there, but the way to also build energy, like we're talking about exampling, is first I go in there and I want to get around my leadership team and my instructors that are going to be leading the class. And I want to kind of, we're pre-framed, we're doing all that stuff.
Love that.
But the explanation of what we're doing needs to have excitement too. Because if I come up and I go, all right, we're going to do low blocks today, and then we're going to kick a little bit, and then that's it. And you're going to go, I don't want to be here.
And, or hey, I'm having with this. Hey guys, we're going to teach this kind of new technique, and it's really hard. Oh my God, these guys are going to struggle so bad, right? And they're going, no.
No. And so you go in there and, we have, kind of the rule 3, and we talk about that with our students, eye contact, name, you want to give them, physical high five as well. You got to do that with your leadership team too.
Absolutely.
If I come in and I'm just like, hey guys, how's it going? They're not going to want to be there. And so that's the starting of what I do. I enter the class by starting one with the energy that I'm ready to produce, but I also already try to exude it onto my other people.
Exude it onto them.
It might not be the right way to say it, but that's the word I'm using today.
Project my power to you.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, I think something to think about around that. I love what you said is, when you walk in and you see your team, I needed that reminder. I thank you for saying that, because when you walk in and you see your team, they are a gift to us, right? And they're choosing, man. They could do other jobs, and they're choosing to be there and be a part. And so our happiness and energy should be natural, because we see them and we're just happy to get that gift today that they showed up and decided to be a part of our team, right?
Exactly. Yes, sir.
That's so good, man. So good. So, whenever we get into the class, sometimes we can start on a high and the class can kind of flatten out. And, why would a class, slow down or kind of go flat over time? So some of the different things that can happen, we mentioned it already, but just that same monotone, right? Instructors going through motions, whenever, do you like it whenever you see one of your leaders kind of out there just like, hey, just kind of going through the motion? What do you talk to them about when they do that?
When we talked about it, and that's the thing I like that you brought that up, is because we also have to also realize that, in this time, I have to go and talk to them and keep that energy, because if I don't, they might not know they're doing it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's
and
right.
so you got to kind of take that step back before you go, like, what are you doing? Because I've had those moments, but I like to go up and talk to them and just give them, hey, it's a praise, correct praise, or if it's in the moment, it's like, hey, we've also talked about, letting, the instructor tag out, we talk about making sure that ego's checked, but you go over there. And I wouldn't do it usually in the moment right there.
Right.
I might come up to them. I might work with the kids a little bit and excite the kids in the line. Like, hey, let's go. A lot of that time that helps our
kind of pick them back up.
Picks them back up. And then as we're rotating, I'll hop in there and be like, hey, you're doing great. We're going, you're kind of getting a little low on the energy. And a lot of times if this happens, it's, oh, awesome. Thank you. I didn't realize that was happening.
Right.
It's
funny because one of the things we were thinking about is, if the energy is low, don't look at the mat, look at the mirror. Right.
Absolutely.
Look in the mirror, because a lot of times that's where it's at. Another thing that can bring a class down is correction without encouragement, man. This is another one that drives me crazy whenever you see the great grandmaster walking through the class with his hands behind his back, and he's just like, or carrying the little stick, whack somebody on the leg and like straighten that leg, bend that knee, adjust that, balance, whatever. And there's no encouragement that comes along. I like you said, praise, correct praise, teaching tactic that we talked about a million times. But, we walk up and we go, hey man, the yell's great. Really need you to chamber that kick a little tighter before you throw it next time, and then look back and see them do it. Hey, that's what I'm looking for, right? So correction without encouragement. We're just walking around beating them up, looking for what we can fix all
Absolutely.
the time. And I think that can be a rut that's easy to get into. What do you think? Like, because we teach, we want to help so bad, sometimes it can be easy to fall into that.
Exactly. Kind of going in, we're looking at kind of going back to that praise, correct praise. When we go and we teach and we're going through and we're correcting, sometimes we get into the motion and the motion of praise, correct praise. And that, like you're saying, it just comes to correct. And sometimes instructors out there, just kind of be careful, because you don't want to get into the motion that we're talking about and you're just correcting because you have a lot of students on the mat.
Right.
Where you're thinking, I don't have time to give them a high five. Yeah, you do.
You always do.
You never, if you're thinking I don't have time to do something, that means that your class is working you're not working your class. Kind of like the schedule.
Right.
If I don't make the schedule and put time into it, one day that schedule is going to work me. I'm not going to work it. It's the same with your class and your students. I'm going around, I'm correcting. I have to have that praise, correct praise. But the last thing of that too is you got to be easily awed.
Right.
You know, like how excited,
that.
how
I love
excited
that.
do you get? I was thinking about this because self-reflection is the most important thing in this as well. But I was going and going, how many times have I been easily like, I'm excited for them. How much am I easily awing with them? Like,
Right.
am I going around just giving high fives, say, hey, great job? Or am I going, man, that was specific thing right there. Well,
Right.
that was specific thing. And so yesterday in our classes, I really was personally focusing on that. Hopping
love
into our
that.
little dragons class, you know, wow, that kick was amazing. That was good. Oh, hey, make sure we put that like, whoa. That's exactly what I was talking about. My favorite phrase with that is when they get something, oh, you're golden. Like if you do this, you're golden.
Right.
Because everyone wants to be the golden child.
Everybody wants to be gold.
And it's like, oh man, and sometimes it's, you know, hey, if you do this, you'll be good. You know,
Love it.
you'll be good. You're giving them kind of a descriptive wording and adjective that gives them that understanding of, oh, this is where I need to be. But that's what brings that energy too. Is
Another thing you're doing too is giving them an expectation. If you
Exactly.
do this, you're going to be golden, right? You're laying down an expectation, and I think that's huge. You know, we're talking about kind of why classes will go flat. Another one that I think is huge too is sometimes you can start a class and it's on fire, boom, 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 and everybody's moving, and you throw them a brain challenge.
yes,
You throw them like a flowing combination that's a little challenging. The footwork's maybe a little awkward or different, something they're not used to. And all of a sudden the energy dies, not because they want it to, but because they're thinking so hard about what to do and how to move. It's like the room can die. And that's another thing to watch out for. I don't think that loss of energy is a bad one. That just means you're challenging your students. But that is another reason that things can go flat. And, you know, no urgency, you know, your presence, maybe you're kind of half checked out as an instructor floating around. You're not kind of edgy. Just remember that, you know, when classes go flat, it's not burnout, it's complacency a lot of times. You know, we're just kind of, you know, gosh, maybe I've had a goal of 150 students, whatever that is, and I finally hit it. And so I kind of start to glide and we quit hustling. You know what I mean? And we always need to hustle. In Dave Ramsey's word, we need to be ready every day to go out, kill something, and drag it back home to the cave, right? And whenever we lose that drive, that complacency kicks in, that can be a problem. So, all right, guys, so let's talk a little bit about, you know, another thing that kind of kills energy is authority versus presence. And what I mean by that is, you know, authority is, you know, somebody walks in, hey, listen up, or do that again, or you do that because I said so. You know, just speaking from a place of authority. But what do you think about that? What can we do better?
Well, one is we got to look at how to phrase things positively.
Right.
And one of the things that I did when we were learning this concept of, you know, authority versus influence kind of in that area or presence, it's one that I like to switch out authority for trust. You know, the word, it's like, now where's the trust that they have? Because there is times, you know, maybe as we're going and we're learning, I'm a little easier in some areas, like, hey, let's fix this. If there's somebody that's a kid that's losing that kind of like, you know, they're up a higher belt, there might be a time when I go, hey, you need to fix that. But I have that rapport. And so
you've built kind of like an emotional bank account with them through the relationship and time. I see.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love
and
it.
so to keep that energy, I have to have that rapport. And that's where kind of the authority comes from. Right. But if I am just thinking the old master, you know, hands behind the back, taking the master stance, looking around, going, good, wait, keep going. I have to really make sure that as I'm going with that, the present's going to be lost if I'm not taking the time to like talk to them, if that makes sense. I can't be the guy just standing there going, do better, get it done. You have to do it. There are times where we might use those as motivational tools, like, hey, you can do better. Hey, you need to get this done. But never as I'm just going to stand there and do it and not do it and just tell you, go, go, go. I have to also be able to be willing to jump in front of them as well. And so there's a lot that can be said with that.
We're coming to that. We're gonna talk about some things that are easy implementation things that you can do. But I love where you're headed with it, and you're spot on. I love that trust too, and building that emotional kind of bank account with them over time. And in the beginning, when they're those white but fragile eggs, we've got to be really careful, get to know them. But, you know, so authorities like that, you know, just to be clear that, you know, do it because I said, or look at, you know, my belt and my stripes, you know, we see this stuff and kind of laugh about it. Presence is more like eye contact with a smile, you know, developing, again, back to what JT said, that trust. It's voice control, using tone and inflection and your voice in the right way in the right times. We were talking about this before we started the podcast, but sometimes I'll pop into a class and work with the kids a little bit, and I'll pop out. And just the other day I had a parent like, oh man, you know, it was great when you popped in there. You were really yelling at those kids. And I look at them, I'm like, yelling at those kids. If I was yelling at the kids, their hair would stand straight up, right?
Yes.
Whenever I have 25 kids in a room and I need their attention and parents are around the periphery of the mat, chit-chatting or whatever, I've got to be strong with my voice in that moment. But whenever I'm one-on-one with a kid, I'm definitely not yelling at them, right? It's intentional, and the things that we say with great confidence are much easier to believe and follow, right? But anyway, it's just funny. Voice and volume control is huge. Intentional movement. What do you think about that? Talk about that a little bit.
I am good at this.
That's why I tagged you in right here. Intentional movement, JT. What does that mean?
So intentional movement, there's a lot of times where we are, it really kind of goes to being how animated are you with your students, right? Let's go with our 3 to 6 year olds, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually was having a conversation with one of our leadership team about like how we're leading, and we talk about this. Our little dragon, our student, normally we have the rule, kind of the understanding that a student is only going to give you about 50% back. A lot of times people might not understand, what does that mean? Well, it's because we got to realize they're still learning. Right. They're not comfortable with it as much. We have to be the overbearer to show them, oh, I need to be kind of moving up there. Our little dragon program with 3 to 6 year olds, we have to, we have to be the fun, like outgoing, hey, what we're going to do, because big movements, big animation is what's going to keep their attention.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't even go, that goes from like even when I was a kid, right. The big voice, the big moving, the, hey, we're going to move, we're going to have fun. That's where like kind of I hate to say it in this way, but kind of like the puppy dog kind of excitement comes out a little bit better.
Absolutely.
Because you're excited. You're excited with them, but especially when we do a lot of martial arts, like kind of mini obstacle courses to have them continuously moving, right? Mm-hmm. And if I'm demonstrating that or a technique for these guys where I might, I'm stomping and I might stomp a little bit, going here with my little dragons, I'm bringing that knee almost to my head, stomping down, going down, because they're watching.
You're over exaggerating.
Exactly.
Yeah, love it.
And so when we, that's where that energy comes from. Mm-hmm. And the other thing you have to realize that, and instructors and leaders, please remember this. If you're doing that, but you're embarrassed by it, you also need to look in the mirror. You shouldn't be embarrassed to do this stuff. I'm a big guy and I do silly stuff like this all the time. But I can tell you, But those
little kids love you to death for that reason, because you're willing to jump in front of them and demonstrate. Little guys are visually stimulated, like they need to see it, and that's why you're over there talking about it, and you're like,
yeah, I want to move now, And it's funny because I feel a little blessed because I started so young as well, so I can rehash those experiences, and move up to those with that. So when you're moving with your guys, especially our little ones, super big animation, but that doesn't mean you can't move with kids or adults and teens, a little more seriousness with it, but you're still showing the passion. You're moving. That moving is going to be more, you're showing the technique at its best ability that you have, which should be top of the line, right? Our kids, it's kind of a little halfway between the dragons and our teens and adults. Kids, you're going to have to be outgoing still, but I might not just like jump in their face and go, and kind of do that. With it, it's more like I'm running around and there's a high five and I'm moving. My favorite thing is to just like put the high five and move it out like 2 or 3 times, and I'm like, yeah, you caught me. Like I can't do it. But that's with the demonstration too. Right. I put a wave master out in front of them and I knock it down and I go, hey, guess what you're going to be able to do soon? Knock that down. And that's the thing I love about growing up here is, with intentional movement, I have to be my top self, right? I have to be able to demonstrate what I want to see. And even if we're going fast, I can do a quick one here, or I can do a quick one here. I should be able to move at the best ability every time. And that's just where intentional movement should be.
Inspect what you expect.
Exactly.
I love it. So anyway, we're kind of talking about, just don't be an authoritarian, right? If you want energetic classes, you're going to have presence. You're going to have a little bit of personality. You're going to have some emotional intelligence around those things. And, because energy comes from presence, not just strictly volume.
Exactly.
Right? Yep. Good stuff. All right, well, let's get into some thoughts on, some practical things that are easy to implement that can help to fix energy problems in your class. And again, just to be clear, when we're talking about energy problems, we're not talking about necessarily people working hard, but just kind of the atmosphere, kind of the light mood, the let's go, let's work hard feeling of the classroom. It's not super complicated, but it requires a little prepping and discipline. So the first thing I'll say is, you have to have a strong class plan. You have to be confident in your curriculum and functionality of the curriculum. People see through fluff. So, you've got to have a plan walking onto the mat, right? From the get-go. And if you don't, and I'm blown away by this. I just was recently on a call with a school owner who's struggling, and I'm, trying to help him out. And, I'm like, hey, what is your curriculum? Well, when they test, I just kind of watch them and go, I think they need this. That was literally the answer I got. And I'm like, how do you keep that consistent? And how do you build disguising repetition and expectations out of just kind of shooting off the hip all the time? And I kind of do understand it, because you can read your students and kind of know what they need, but there's got to be consistency. So having a class plan, having some organization in place and some ability to duplicate, etc., is so important to having energetic classes. And the reason the class plan is important is because when I know what I'm going to teach, I believe in what I'm going to teach, it's functional, it's going to deliver, it's easy to be confident and walk on the mat with that, kind of chest out, eyes up, and be excited about what you're doing. So make sure that we have a plan in place. Enter your classes, walk onto the mat with, intention, not, a reactionary body posture, but be intentional about what you do. So talk to me a little bit about that, JT.
So being intentional about what you do, we've been kind of talking about it throughout the whole thing, exactly. So we got to talk about kind of like the accountability for how you deliver, like I just like going back to the mirror. Like that's where my energy comes from. I look at myself and I think as a martial artist at first, and also just as a, running a school, as a business person now, you're always going to be finding what you need to do better.
Right.
And that's where that accountability comes on when you deliver. Right. And if you're going, we talked about the pre-frame. If I go over there and I have accountability for myself as I've gone over to my team, now I've given them a little power of accountability for them. Right. Because we're talking about the trust that we build with our students. Well, that goes with the team too. Right. With that energy, accountability for how to deliver is how I'm going to prep my team. With that class plan, how am I going to enunciate with what I want them to do? Right. But at the same time, if I want to have accountability for delivering amazing classes, I'm going to have to make sure that when I hop on that mat, when I do the pre-frame, when I do that, I don't just leave. Right. You know what I mean? Check out. Yeah, I don't check out. So this is not a time of, okay, well, we have our class plan. We got all the stuff. I trust you. You're good. Bye. Yeah. You know what I mean? The disappearing boss, for lack of better words. Yeah. So, it's so important whenever you mention pre-frame, when you enter the mat and you pre-frame, you've already pre-framed your team. Now we're entering the mat with the students, and you pre-frame like, guys, are you ready to have an amazing class today? And they're like, yes, sir. Now you are accountable to delivering that amazing class, right? And they have an expectation. It's going to be amazing. I'm excited about this. We got to get in there, get them excited, and then deliver that. Another thing that's so important with this is starting the class strong. Start on a high. So how do you start your classes on a high, man? Oh, man. Well, we do like I said, we're going to ask. I like to use the thing. I use hey, we're going to have a strong class. Yes, sir. But I love looking at our class and going, are you ready for the best class you've had in your life? Right. And they all going, oh, yeah. I am. And so we usually will start with high energy. We start, everybody run. And when we're running, in place, we're getting warm. I'll get in front of a kid and I go, are you going to let me beat you? Are you going to let me be faster than you today? Is this how we're going to start class? And, we're going. Leading by example, but encouraging at the same time. Exactly. And, then we start bouncing, we start moving. The high energy starting of the warm up, it takes about like a minute. Right. That run, that bounce, take your feet out wide, put your hands up, pull to the center, pull. I look, whoa, you guys are looking good today. I think one of the keys right here is the feedback. You're constantly giving positive feedback, right? 100%. And you're looking to spotlight those that are standing out and doing a great job. You're setting the pace of the room within about the first 60 seconds. Boom. You get in there, you line them up, and you get them fired up. And you've got to be a little bit of a cheerleader. Yeah. What I mean? You do. I know it sounds fruity, but you got to be like, yeah, let's go. And the way we do it is we talked about this earlier, not looking like that, great grandmaster floating around looking for the things to fix, but looking for the things people are doing right. 100%. Yeah, I love that. That's good stuff. Another thing around that, we've already alluded to it without saying it, is public praise, private reprimand. Exactly. Yeah, public praise, private reprimand. This is huge. There's one of the biggest ways to empty the energy from a room, to take the air out of the room, is to crack on somebody publicly. And everyone goes,
and just shuts down, right? You ever seen that happen before?
I've had it done to me before.
I'm sorry, JT.
Just here and there before as we were learning from instructors,
Absolutely.
and that's okay. I was a goofball, like it's one of those,
Now as a grown man, you can look back and say that, but when you were a kid, you were just devastated, like,
exactly.
What just happened? Right.
Exactly. But one of the ways we can do that is, if a kid I use kids because usually you're not going to have too much of a problem with adults or teens.
Most of the time, an adult comes in and kind of knows what they want. They know they need to work hard, right? Yeah. But they still need the same kind of love and attention in ways too, right?
Oh, absolutely. And there's different ways. So like our kids, if there's a kid, that's like they're not on it. This is where your rapport comes in too. I've had kids meltdown, and honestly, if we have our team going, I usually will grab that kid and we'll take them to the back mat and go, hey, what's going on? Right. Hey, and it can be, depending on how well this kid is, like, hey, this has happened before. If I know them really well, which I do at this point, I can usually just pull them aside and go, hey, we're not supposed to act this way. But I usually start with what's going on. Right. Because I know how strong you are. Right. What's going on. And that's where that pride, it's still reprimanding, but there's that form of encouragement too.
Well, it shows you care. What's going on
exactly
means I care. Is there something happening that I can help you with? Right. You're, in essence, is kind of what you're saying.
Exactly.
And it's a great way to approach it. I love that.
And so when you're, but when you're doing it, please just make sure you are not publicly, it's not just publicly, correcting
across the room of 20 kids. What's wrong with you?
Exactly. But it's weird. It's not weird because you're their hero.
Right.
So when you look at them and you point to them and you say, you're wrong. What are you doing? Fix that. A lot of times that's going to just crush them.
It's devastating.
Because their hero just called them out in front of everybody. They're embarrassed now. But when their hero comes to their side, like a hero does, and talks to them and says, hey, what are we doing? And there's times you have to pull them aside and say, hey, stop it. Stop being a goofball. Get on the ball of things. But when their hero comes to their side and they correct them and they go, hey, because since I'm your hero, this is what a hero does.
Right.
That's what makes them, that's what helps them a lot more. Instead of just going, hey, with technique and stuff, we have to be the shadow. You just go in, kids punching with the wrong hand. I don't go, hey, you fix that. I walk up to them and go, hey, it's 1, 2. And they go, okay. So there's a ton that you can do it, but it is important to just make sure. And when you publicly praise them, that's where the easily and all comes from. It's not just, oh, wow, hey, Johnny, good job. It's, whoa, Johnny, that was the best punch I've ever seen you do. Right. And then you let your class, you spotlight them. You let your class, hey, everyone clap for Johnny. That was awesome. There's so much to do from there.
Not only are you their hero, but now they get to be a hero too.
Exactly.
How cool is that?
Exactly. And if you're having a problem with a student, and I say kids, adults, just bring them to the side, talk to them. Just you need to show they care too, because a lot of adults, we don't know it, but they need that.
Absolutely.
Right?
Oh, 100%.
But pulling
they're giant kids.
Exactly. But pulling a kid, if you're having problems still, you talk to the parent after, and you and your parent can go into your office or a little area by yourselves with each other and go, hey, I've noticed this behavior is happening a lot. Right. This is some things we're working on. I did it with one of our students just yesterday. They were having an off day, and I called the parent. I said, hey, why don't you guys come in and let's figure out ways for your martial arts journey to continue epically. Right. And we had a great talk. Hey, that's these are some things I need to see. These are things, and and I started it with, I know it was an off day, and they go, oh, thank God.
All right, guys. So another thing that we can do to keep the energy high is make sure you're rotating your instructors around, right?
Absolutely.
So a lot of times in our class structures, we'll have an instructor running kind of a pod here, a pod here, a pod here. And instead of keeping the instructor on the same pod all the time, sometimes let the instructors rotate around the room so that they maintain some energy as well, right?
Absolutely, yes, sir. A couple things on that too is, for us, we'll have an instructor, and how we like to do it is there's an instructor that we like to have in a class. Hey, you're going to lead that class. But the next cycle, we switch them too.
Right.
And inside,
even over the cycles, instead of even just inside of a class, but 6 weeks, one instructor may focus on this kind of cohort group and then rotate them to a different group.
Exactly.
Got it.
And so we do that, but also inside of the class too. Hey, with our kids classes, this kid class you're going to teach today, you are teaching this class today, and they know their students, and we especially our main instructors, we talk to each other and we go, hey, what are things we're seeing? One instructor will go, hey, yesterday this kid was struggling with this one step or this technique. If they're in here today, just kind of make sure we're on top of that.
Right.
We communicate continuously. And so that rotation is worth it. It helps. You also have to have that communication as well to make sure, but it does help with that new face. You might have classes that the energy's dying and it's nothing the instructor's doing. It's just, they've seen them every day for like,
time for a rotation.
Yeah. And so now it's like, hey, or, I've hopped into sets too. Like, oh, I'm going to hop in the set, or somebody's hopped in for my set. I've even asked, our instructors, hey, I think they're just dying because they've seen me so much today. Here, let's let's tag off.
I'm not sure how the instructor takes that. They've looked at your face too long. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, it's for me. It's like I'll go to my or other instructors and just say, hey, tag off. They're going to need your energy today, and that's something you can put in there. They're going to need your energy today. I can feel that they're going to need your presence today.
Nice.
And that's kind of just the humility of it.
When you phrase it like that too, they need your energy. That makes them feel good about what they get to bring.
Exactly.
I love that. Yeah,
exactly. And so that's the humility of it too. I can't sit there with an ego going, I'm going to make these kids. Now I have done that. We've all done that. We're like, I'm going to make these kids work. They're going to work. They're going to get it done. We're going to have fun. But that's the time where you have to go, I'm going to take a step back. What's going on? And so then you can tag off with your instructors, and that different face helps so much. There's a lot of times where, if we, one of us goes and teaches in Abilene or vice versa, the kids are booming. And
so excited to see a new face.
And sometimes the instructors, they don't feel bad. They're just like, man, like we've been trying to get them up and going. And it's like, and, just reminding them, it literally isn't you. It's not the students. It's just new. It's new. And you want that newness to it.
Well, a lot of people don't know this, but I sold cars for 3 years, and Glenn Ann and I, in our early marriage, while she was in school. And we had something called the turn. And the turn was, if I went out and I met a customer on the lot working with a customer, the customer wanted to leave, we were required to go get a different salesperson and turn them over to a different salesperson. And it was unbelievable how often that change of face, that fresh voice, somebody buy a car. It was like, whoa, that was cool because I was losing them, right? And so it's kind of a similar concept you're talking about, rotating the instructors around to keep them fresh, but it keeps the students fresh as well. So
absolutely,
that's good. All right, so I'm going to run back through, just some simple things around keeping the energy high. That's what the whole kind of point of this is about, keeping the energy high. Why does the energy need to be high? Because people come back to things they enjoy, and if the energy is high, there's excitement, they must be enjoying it, right?
Absolutely.
So it's kind of like a vicious circle there of sorts, but have a class plan, be confident in that plan, enter the class with purpose, pre-frame the students for this is going to be amazing, not you're about to get the hardest class of your life. Just how you present that is so important to keep yourself accountable, the students accountable, to get them excited, to get them kind of prepped up and ready. And then you have to deliver, because if you pump them up and you fail to deliver, your students are going to die on you, right? Start that class strong, in that first 60 seconds, get the energy up, line up, boom, move fast, kind of get them excited, get things fired up, be a cheerleader in ways. Remember the power of that. Praise publicly and correct or, privately. Don't, publicly humiliate students. That's one of the worst things that we can do in any setting, anywhere. Rotate your instructors. And make sure you're training your instructors on tone, inflection, body language, and how to carry themselves, pacing, and things like that. So just some things you can do to keep the energy high in the classes. So, all right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope you got something out of it. JT, thank you so much for coming and sharing some wisdom with us and sharing some nuggets. It's always fun to have you in the house and doing things with us. Just remember, we are blessed that the students choose. They vote for us by coming and paying us to teach the martial arts, and we're so blessed to get that opportunity. Remember, our team, we talked about this, is a gift to us, and we need to be thankful for them. So it should be pretty easy to be excited and easy to be passionate and easy to be on top of the game, relatively speaking, right? I know we all have rough days, but remember, we're just blessed to get to do what we do. You got any last words of wisdom for them out there around energizing their students?
Just remember, if you're not having fun, your students aren't going to have fun.
Right. That's so good. Sometimes when the instructors you've heard me say this probably before in instructor meetings and trainings, like, hey guys, go back into your reserves and remember something you loved on the mat and bring that drill back. If it's a drill you enjoyed or something that we, bring it back and share it with us again, because we may have stopped doing it a few years ago and forgotten about it, right? So that's right. If you're not having fun, they're not likely having fun. All right, guys. Hope that was good. Hope you enjoyed it. Like it, love it, share it. Let us know what you'd like to hear from us, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Thank you, JT.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for tuning into the Team Chip Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget, subscribe, share, and or leave a review because we need you. We appreciate you so much, and without you, we can't make this happen. Remember, consistency is the key to success, so go out there and never be outworked.